Honey was a quiet man. He had chosen to leave the chaos of the world behind, seeking solace in the untamed wilderness. With only Mitty, a small, swift cat with bright green eyes and a playful demeanor, Honey had learned to live in harmony with the jungle's rhythms. He had built a small hut from bamboo, and his days were spent exploring, fishing, and gathering herbs from the jungle floor. Mitty, despite her size, was no ordinary cat. Her fur was a sleek gray, and her movements were almost otherworldly. She seemed to understand the jungle as if it whispered to her. Whether it was a hidden path or an ancient tree with medicinal bark, Mitty always knew where to go. Honey often marveled at her uncanny ability to lead him to places he had never thought to look. One particular morning, as the mist still clung to the towering trees, Mitty darted from the hut with an excited meow. Honey, who had just begun preparing breakfast, frowned. She never acted this way unless something unusual was afoot. "What's going on, Mitty?" he asked, pulling on his boots. Mitty's bright green eyes shone with a mix of excitement and curiosity, and without waiting for him, she bolted deeper into the jungle. Honey had learned long ago not to question Mitty's instincts. He grabbed his spear, a well-worn tool for fishing and defense, and followed her. The thick canopy of trees above filtered the sunlight into ethereal beams, casting a mystical glow on the jungle floor. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Mitty led him through familiar paths, weaving between massive roots, leaping over streams, and climbing rocks as if the jungle itself was her playground. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a spot Honey had never seen before. It was a hidden glade, encircled by trees that seemed much older than any he had encountered. In the center of the glade stood a stone archway, half covered in moss, with strange carvings etched into its surface. Honey approached cautiously, his heart quickening. The carvings were ancient, their meaning lost to time. But something about the arch called to him. He had always believed there was more to the jungle than met the eye, something older, something magical. Mitty sat in front at her extraordinary ability to find places she had never seen before. One special morning, as mist danced among the trees and spread across the ground, Mitty suddenly ran out of the hut, and a joyous meow echoed from her. Honey, who was preparing breakfast, looked up with a puzzled expression. Whenever Mitty acted this way, it always meant something unusual was happening. "What's going on, Mitty?" Honey asked as he put on his shoes. Mitty's green eyes gleamed with an unusual light, and without waiting for Honey, she sprinted deeper into the forest. Honey had learned not to question Mitty's instincts. He picked up his spear, a tool for fishing and self-defense, and followed her. As he passed through the tree roots and walked along the trails, the shadow of the trees seemed to pull him into another world. But he knew that following Mitty was always the right choice. Finally, after several hours, they reached a place Honey had never seen before. It was a hidden clearing, surrounded by trees, with an ancient stone door in the middle. Strange, intricate symbols were etched into it, as if written in an ancient language. Honey approached cautiously and examined the markings. They were old, and their meaning had been lost to time. But there was something about the door that called to him. He had always believed that the forest held secrets that were not immediately visible, something magical. Mitty sat in front of the door, her tail flicking rapidly. Her eyes were fixed on the symbols, and for a moment it felt as though she was communicating with some otherworldly presence. Honey slowly reached out and touched the stone. As his hand made contact, a surge of energy coursed through his body. It was as if the forest recognized him. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble. The trees shook, and a deep rumbling sound echoed in the distance. Honey stepped back, pulling Mitty into his arms, as a mysterious light and a storm of colors erupted around them. The air itself seemed to bend, and with a sharp sound, the wind became still. When the storm subsided, they were no longer in the forest. The familiar sounds and sights of the woods had disappeared, replaced by an expansive open field. The sky was painted a strange violet hue, and distant mountain ranges loomed, their peaks shrouded in mist. Honey stood, eyes wide, in awe. Mitty broke free from his arms and ran toward the horizon, her tail erect, her body tense with energy. Honey, still confused and astonished, followed her. He needed to understand what had just happened. They walked across the field and soon encountered strange creatures. Some were peaceful, but others were highly dangerous. Giant fiery birds made entirely of flame and smoke, whose wings sent tremors through the ground. Hani and Mitty quickly learned that it was best to avoid them, for these creatures had the ability to turn anything in their path into ash. But not all creatures were enemies. They met a group of flying serpents who spoke in deep, cryptic riddles and shared with them the forest's secrets. "The door is not just a door, but a key," one serpent said. "The forest calls you, and you must answer its riddle, or you will be lost forever." With their guidance, Hani and Mitty reached the edge of a lake that shone with an otherworldly glow. The water was lit from within, casting a mysterious light. Mitty immediately recognized something, her tail flicking excitedly. She ran toward the shore where a stone pillar stood, etched with ancient symbols. Hani carefully examined the symbols and, as his voice echoed across the lake, the surface of the water began to ripple. Suddenly, a giant fish emerged from the lake, its scales gleaming like diamonds. It was the guardian of the lake, testing those who sought to uncover the forest's secrets. "Only those with a pure heart may pass," the fish said, as if speaking through the rustling of the wind. "Prove your worth." Hani didn't understand how to prove his worth, but then he realized. The secret of the forest had always been before him. He had never taken more than he needed. He had lived in balance with the forest, always giving back what he took. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the stone. "I seek nothing but knowledge," he said. "To understand the forest, to protect it, and to learn from it." The fish studied him for a long time, then nodded and dove back into the water with a flash of light. The surface of the lake cleared, and beneath it, a hidden path appeared, leading toward the distant mountains. With Mitty by his side, Hani stepped onto the path, knowing that the secrets of the forest would no longer be known only to him, but to all those who understood its heart. The sound of Hani and Mitty's footsteps echoed along the edge of the lake, where the light had now dimmed and an eerie silence had taken hold. The path emerging from beneath the lake was a strange sight. The glowing rocks and drifting scents felt like secrets from a forgotten world. Mitty quickly found her way, as if she already knew where to go, and Hani followed her. They both walked along the path, where the color of the ground had changed. The trail had now turned sandy and smooth, and each footstep left behind a soft echo. Hani kept glancing ahead and behind, but he was growing restless with the thought that they might never reach the mountain, still a mysterious dream to him. As they neared the mountains, a strange tension filled the air. Clouds were swirling around the peaks, as if hiding some unseen power, and Hani felt that those clouds held a secret. "How will we reach that mountain?" Hani asked Mitty. He knew she always led him toward the right path, and now she was guiding him toward the mountains. Without answering, Mitty began running toward the peaks, and Hani followed close behind. A strange desire had awakened in his heart. Would he be able to complete this mysterious journey? At last, after a long journey, they reached the mouth of a vast cave hidden within the mountain. The entrance struck fear in Hani's heart, but Mitty stood tall before it, as if she could already sense the energy inside. "This cave will test us both," Hani whispered to himself, then took a deep breath and stepped inside. The cave's interior was decorated with broken stones and glowing gems embedded in the walls, as if they were alive. The lake's light hadn't reached this deep, and the cave was engulfed in a terrifying silence. "There's something here, Mitty," Hani said, and using Mitty's sharp instincts, they ventured deeper. Their breathing had grown heavier, and though their footsteps should have echoed, the cave remained deathly still. Then suddenly, a voice came from within the cave, as if someone had whispered, "Are you ready?" Hani froze, and Mitty lowered her tail. Where had that voice come from? He didn't know, but it felt like a natural force, echoing from the depths of the cave. "Are you ready?" The voice repeated. Hani took a deep breath and said, "We are ready." At that moment, a stone in the cave wall began to shift, and the sound of a door opening echoed. Hani and Mitty exchanged glances and moved toward the doorway. Once the door opened, a new world revealed itself. It was a vast and vibrant valley, with a powerful river flowing through its center. On the riverbank stood a strange and majestic tree, its roots reaching deep into the earth. Near the tree stood an ancient temple with open doors, and from within came the sound of a whisper. Hani's heart was pounding, but he stepped forward. With Mitty by his side, he entered the temple, arriving in a grand chamber. On the ceiling were ancient maps and symbols, and the walls were adorned with richly colored stories. In the center of the room stood a stone table, upon which rested a strange and mysterious belt. "What is this?" Hani asked, staring at the belt. "This is the key," a voice replied. Not a human voice, but a force of nature itself. Asterisk, whoever wears this key will come to know all the secrets of the forest. But how those secrets are used, that is up to the wearer. Asterisk. Hani picked up the belt and fastened it around his waist. Instantly, the room lit up brightly, and a mist began to rise, alive, like the trees of the forest. "Now you must decide," the voice spoke again. Asterisk, how will you use this power, to protect the forest or to reshape it for your own will? Asterisk. Hani and Midi looked at one another. The forest secrets were never simple, and now Hani held the power to unlock them. "I will protect the forest," Hani said. "This is our home, and I will be its guardian." At that moment, a radiant light burst from the belt, and the entire room began to glow. The whispers of the forest filled Hani's mind, and within his heart, a new resolve awakened. He knew that his journey wasn't over. He had stepped into the very heart of the forest, where every path led to a new secret. As light spread from the belt, the stories engraved on the room's walls began to come alive before Hani's eyes. They were no longer mere images, they transformed into living scenes. Hani saw glimpses of the forest's past, a time when the forest spoke, when every tree, every lake, every rock told a story. Midi sat quietly near Hani's feet, her eyes filled with calm and trust. She knew that Hani had become what the forest had been waiting for, a guardian, a listener. ####*. The light took on a new shape, and in the center of the room, a mirror appeared. But this was no ordinary mirror. Its surface was not clear, but filled with mist. As Hani peered into it, the scene began to change. He found himself standing in a desolate place. The trees were scorched, the animals silent, and the lake dried up. It was a vision of a possible future of the forest, a warning. "If you misuse this power, this will be the fate of the forest," the voice echoed once again. Hani turned his gaze away. Asterisk, no. I will not let that happen. Asterisk. At that moment, the mirror dissolved, and a door appeared on the back wall of the room, a door that hadn't been there before. Above it, an inscription was written. Asterisk. The path of secrets opens only with the heart. Asterisk. Hani looked at Midi. Asterisk. Are you ready? Asterisk. Midi flicked her tail and walked toward the door. Hani steadied his resolve and opened it. As the door opened, they stepped into another world, a grand, towering library, filled with books that reached from the ground all the way to the sky. Every book had a date marked on it, and they were written in many different languages, some that Hani had never seen before. Asterisk. What is this place? Asterisk. Hani whispered. With a faint rustle, a shadow appeared. It wasn't a human, but a mysterious guardian made of trees, with bark-like features on its face and eyes as deep as forest lakes. "This is the Library of Time," the guardian said. Asterisk. Here, every secret, every decision, every fate is recorded in the form of a book. Asterisk. Asterisk. Can I know everything? Asterisk. Hani asked. Asterisk. You can, but it will cost you. Asterisk. Asterisk. What cost? Asterisk. The guardian looked at Midi, then softly said, Asterisk. What you learn will change you. You will never be the same again. Asterisk. Hani lowered his head. The secrets of the past, present, and future, the fate of the forest, his own identity, everything rested on a single decision. I'm ready, Hani said. Asterisk. The guardian lifted an old, worn book. On its cover was written, This is your own story, said the guardian. Asterisk. Read it, but remember, every page can alter your next step. Asterisk. Hani opened the book. On the first page was his name, and beneath it, a sketch of Mitty. The next few pages described everything he had already lived through. But as he turned further, the events became unfamiliar and unknown. On one page, he stood amidst a great war. On another, he was rescuing a child by the river. On yet another, he was speaking to a tree that held the soul of his father. Asterisk. Is this all real? Asterisk. Hani asked the guardian. Asterisk. These are the possibilities, shaped by your choices. The light within you will decide which page becomes truth. Asterisk. Honey closed the book and softly said, Asterisk, I will decide with my heart. I will write my own story. Asterisk. The guardian smiled, and the library's light began to dim. The ground trembled slightly, and the sounds of trees emerged again, as though everything was breathing once more. Honey and Mitty returned to the same cave where their journey had begun, but they were no longer the same. Now, they carried the voice of the forest in their hearts, and beneath their feet were paths that others could not see. The secret of the mountains had been revealed, but it was only one door. The real journey was about to begin, as a guardian, a storyteller, a friend. Honey looked up at the sky, where the clouds had silently cleared, and sunlight once again touched the surface of the lake. The forest had awakened, and so had Honey. Asterisk. After returning from the mountains, the forest felt changed. Every branch, every leaf, every whisper of the wind now spoke to Honey. In his heart, there was a renewed energy, and in his mind, a vague noise, as if a calling echoed constantly from within. But the first sign came from Mitty. One evening, as fog began to settle over the lake, Mitty suddenly turned and ran in the opposite direction of the cave. Honey called out, Mitty, stop. But she didn't. Honey chased after her. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. Mitty stopped at a place Honey had never seen before. There was an old banyan tree, beneath which stood 4 pillars. Ancient jungle symbols were carved into them, and between the pillars stood a masked figure. At last, you've come, Honey, the figure said. The voice didn't echo, it spoke directly into Honey's mind. Asterisk. Who are you? Asterisk. Asterisk. I was the guardian before you. And now, it is my duty to test you. Asterisk. Honey took a step forward. Asterisk. What is your name? Asterisk. Asterisk. Guardians have no names. We are only those chosen by the forest. Asterisk. Suddenly, beams of light shot from all 4 pillars, forming a glowing circle on the ground. Dust rose in the air, and Mitty stepped back. Asterisk. If you truly are the guardian, then prove it. Asterisk. The masked figure struck the ground with a staff, and within the circle, a shadow emerged. It was Honey's own reflection, but with unfamiliar eyes and a proud, hardened face. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. Honey now stood face to face with the shadow within himself, a version of him that craved power without responsibility. One that wanted to rule the forest, not protect it. I am what you could become, the reflection said. Asterisk. If doubt enters your heart. Asterisk. Honey replied. Asterisk. I walk not with doubt, but with faith. Asterisk. Then the battle began. The shadow was swift, powerful, and with every strike, it tested Honey's confidence. But every time, Mitty's eyes reminded Honey he was not alone. Finally, Honey closed his eyes and repeated the promise he had made in the cave. From the heart. Asterisk. I am the guardian. I will not protect myself. I will protect the forest. Asterisk. At that moment, the belt around his waist began to glow. A wave of light engulfed the shadow, dissolving it completely. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. The masked figure bowed his head. Asterisk. You have conquered yourself, Honey. And that is the greatest victory. Asterisk. He placed a small wooden box in front of Honey. Asterisk. This is your second sign. Inside is the seed that will guide you to the next guardian's path. Asterisk. Honey opened the box. Inside was a glowing blue seed, as if it were the heart of the earth itself. Asterisk. This seed must be planted where no light reaches. Asterisk. The masked figure had vanished. Hashtag. Honey and Mitty began their journey once again. Guided by the seed's light, they headed toward a part of the forest that had long been known as the Silent Valley. There, no birds sang, no trees swayed. The valley seemed dead, but the seed's glow grew stronger the closer they got. This is the forest's oldest wound, came a voice, for the first time, inside Honey's mind. Asterisk. You're speaking. Asterisk. Honey was stunned. Asterisk. Now you're ready to listen, Honey. Now, the forest will speak to you itself. Asterisk. Honey stood at the lip of Silent Valley, the blue seed cradled in his palms. Mitty, his cat companion with fur like soft dusk, circled him, ears twitching. The trees here were skeletal, their bark cracked, their branches bare. A wind whispered, carrying the stench of something old, like forgotten dreams. Honey swallowed hard. This was the place the seed was meant to heal, the wound in the forest's heart. But as he stepped forward, doubts clawed at him. What if the seed's light wasn't enough? What if the darkness here had roots too deep to uproot? Mitty stalked ahead, paws silent, tail raised. The cat's eyes glowed faintly blue, echoing the seed's pulse. Honey felt comfort in that light. He knelt beside a cracked stone platform, ancient runes half-forgotten carved into its edges. Here, he would plant the seed. But before Honey could lower the seed into the soil, something moved in the shadows. A figure stepped through the mist. A woman, tall and gaunt, with skin pale as moonlight, hair tangled with vines and moss. Her eyes were dark hollows, her voice a hollow echo. "You carry what could kill you," she said. Honey stood. "Who are you?" "I am Nightshade," she whispered, "the keeper of this valley's grief." Honey tucked the seed into his belt. "I came to heal." Nightshade's lips curled. "Wrong words. Healing demands sacrifice." Mitty's fur bristled. Honey felt a prickle along his spine. Problem 1. The first test. Sacrifice. Nightshade raised her arm. From her fingertips, tendrils of root and dark mist writhed toward Honey. The ground trembled. Honey braced himself, but one tendril wrapped around his ankle, cold and unforgiving. "Sacrifice," Nightshade repeated. "What will you give?" Honey glanced at the seed. He could plant it now, right now, and try to push back the darkness. But Nightshade's power seemed tied to something deeper, something beyond just light and seed. He knelt and closed his fist. Not the seed. He pulled off his worn cloak, threadbare but full of memories. First steps into the forest, the laughter of birds, Mitty nuzzling him in moonlight. He held it out. Nightshade's roots slackened. Mitty hissed. "Your memories weigh too much," Nightshade said. "Yet they are what you must bear." Honey placed the cloak on the stone. The wind stilled, the roots receded. Nightshade nodded once, turning away. "Proceed," she said, gesturing toward a dark arch in the valley wall. "Through night's breath." Honey and Mitty followed. The arch was carved into the valley's rock, leading into a tunnel black as pitch. The seed pulsed at Honey's belt, its glow dim where the darkness pressed in. They entered the tunnel. Stalactites dripped with something that looked like obsidian, the path slick and narrow. Every step echoed like a scream. Mitty paused, whiskers quivering, then padded forward. Midway through the tunnel, a low rumble. The ground cracked under Honey's foot. The path split, one tunnel climbing upward, faint light ahead, the other dipping downward, deeper shadow. Honey hesitated. Mitty pawed at the downward path. Honey nodded. They descended. The darkness grew, pressing in. Honey reached out, trying to light the way with memory. He remembered the forest in bloom, leaves dancing, Mitty's soft purr. The seed responded, a soft blue aura at his chest, lighting the stones ahead. But shadows moved, figures slithering, formless. Whispers in a voice that was his own. "You will fail. You have no right." Honey's heart hammered. He gripped Mitty, the cat's warmth steadying him. Suddenly the shadows lunged. Honey raised his hand. The seed flared. Blue light cut through the darkness. Mitty leaped, claws sinking into a silhouette, scattering shadows. Honey darted past, clutching the seed. They ran, stumbling, slipping, until they burst out of the tunnel into a clearing. The clearing opened onto a marsh, moonlight dancing over black water, lily pads glistening with dew. In the center rose a still pond, mirror-smooth, reflecting stars that didn't exist in the sky. Nightshade's voice echoed. "The mirror marsh reveals truth. Face yours, or be swallowed." Honey felt the weight of fatigue. Mitty leaped onto a stepping stone, looking back at Honey with unblinking eyes. Honey knelt by the edge of the pond. His reflection shimmered oddly, taller, hardened, with eyes full of isolation. The reflection spoke, "You protect others from afar. You fear letting them in." Honey said nothing. The reflection twisted, "You could let darkness save you. If you embrace power without pain." Honey's throat tightened. He placed his hand on the water. The reflection lunged. Water exploded upward. Cold, swirling. Honey recoiled, and Mitty hissed. Honey whispered to himself, "I protect. I share. I am not alone." He plunged the seed into the pond's edge soil. Blue light spread, rippling across water, illuminating lily pads, the reflection's face softening, becoming his true self, scared, hopeful, determined. The pond glowed, the lilies bloomed. A pathway of light stretched across the water, leading to an island in the center. On the island stood 3 figures. 1. A young girl, cloak made of petals, eyes shimmering with urgency. She introduced herself as Suri, messenger of the blooming, a movement among trees to restore what was lost. 2. An old stag spirit, antlers entwined with vines, voice deep, Corvin, who once walked the forests before they were fractured. 3. A boy made of roots, skin like bark, named Nair, who claimed to be descendant of Nightshade's line, caught between light and dark. Suri stepped forward. "Honey, we have watched you. The seed you carry is needed here, yet there are dangers you do not know." Corvin bowed his head. "Nightshade does not destroy lightly. She guards this valley. If we are to heal, the old barriers must come down." Nair's eyes flickered. "And I must choose which way I belong, to the seeds of light or the roots of despair." Honey looked at them. "I want your help." Together they walked across the stepping stones. Mitty led the way, tail high, as frogs chirped under moonlight. At the center, a dais of ivory stone. Honey placed the seed in a hollow shaped to receive it. But whatever slept under the marsh stirred. Nightshade's presence consumed the periphery. Tendrils rose from water, black vines slithering. The marsh roared. Nair stepped toward Honey, hand raised. Honey expected help, but Nair's hand shot forward, sending a vine toward Corvin's heart. Suri screamed. Corvin staggered. "Why?" Honey shouted. Nair's face twisted. "This power, your light, it will burn what I love." Corvin fell back, wounded. The vine recoiled only when Honey wove the light from the seed, glowing armor around him. Mitty sprang, leap of claws and light, severed the vine. Nair recoiled. Nightshade's voice, booming from everywhere, even among allies, betrayal is the deepest wound. Suri knelt over Corvin, pressing hands of gentle light to the wound. Honey turned to Nair, who was trembling, tears in his bark-like skin. "You're torn," Honey said. "But there's a way forward, not by destroying, but by including." Nair looked away, conflicted. Mitty rubbed against Honey's leg. The seed's glow pulsed. Corvin stood, weak, but standing. Suri helped him up. "We cannot force someone," said Suri. "But we must heal what we can." Nightshade emerged from mist, alone. The pale woman's form flickered. The marsh darkened. Light seemed to shrink. "You had courage," she said, voice sad. "But you are young, Honey. Do you yet understand loss?" Honey raised his voice. "Yes." He thought of all he had seen, the forest's decay, the silent valley, memories he kept. He had lost friends, places, the innocence of sleep. Nightshade nodded. "Prove your heart." She gestured, and the marsh erupted. Spears of water, shadow beasts, vines thick and strangling. Honey felt fear, but not paralyzed. He reached inside for the promise he made in the cave, the words, "I will protect." He let the seed's power flow. Light spread outward from him in spiral waves. Mitty hissed at the beasts, darting, distracting. Corvin roared, his antlered form glowing green, rising up to help. Vines strangled the beasts, memories of old forests rising like phantom branches whole again. Suri lifted her petals, singing with voice of springs. Nair, watching, hesitated, then helped, pulling vines from dark roots, restoring earth where blackness had leached. Nightshade watched, tears in her hollow eyes. When the last beast collapsed into mud, Honey stood, soaked, shaking, but radiant. The seed glowed bright blue, then softer, merging with the ground. The marsh transformed, lily pads multiplied, water cleared, light streaming through clouds that broke overhead. Trees at the edges budded. Leaves rustled with wind's laughter. Nightshade stepped forward. She placed her hand where the seed was. "You have done more than I believed possible." Her voice changed, no longer hollow echo, but soft, warm. This valley will remember light. And you, honey, have shown that protecting means more than fighting. It means healing. Nair knelt before Honey. Will you accept me, not as savior, but as brother? Honey stretched a hand. Yes. Mitty purred. Suri smiled. Corvin's horns glowed. Nightshade lifted her head. And I am free.